She sits in the dim light of her bedroom, phone in hand, waiting. The blue glow illuminates her face as she stares at the screen, watching 3 dots appear and disappear. Her heart races with each notification sound that isn't from him. When his message finally arrives, a single word, maybe an emoji, she feels that familiar rush of relief wash over her like a drug hitting her bloodstream. But let me take you back. Let me show you where this story really begins. She's 7 years old, standing in the hallway of a house that feels too big and too quiet. Her father sits behind his newspaper, a fortress of silence between them. She brings him her drawing, a family with 4 smiling faces under a yellow sun. He glances up for a moment, nods, and returns to his paper. She learns that day that love is something you earn, not something you receive. She learns that silence is a language, and she better learn to speak it fluently. Fast forward 20 years. She's sitting across from a man who looks nothing like her father, but feels exactly like him. He's charming when he wants to be, distant when he doesn't. He gives her just enough attention to keep her hoping, just enough affection to keep her trying. And she thinks this is love. She thinks this is how it's supposed to feel. But here's what she doesn't understand yet. She didn't fall for him. She fell for the pattern. Again. Every time she reaches for her phone to text him first, she's that 7-year-old girl again, holding up a drawing to someone who's already looking away. Every time she explains away his coldness, she's that child again, making excuses for why love feels like begging. Every time she tells herself he's just complicated or needs time, she's speaking that ancient language of silence she learned at her father's knee. You see, when you grow up in a house where love is rationed, where affection is earned through perfect behavior and endless trying, you develop a blueprint for what love feels like. And that blueprint is written in the language of lack. It's written in the grammar of not enough and the syntax of try harder. You were trained to earn love, not receive it. You were trained to see distance as a challenge to overcome, not a message to understand. You were trained to interpret indifference as mysterious depth, not emotional unavailability. You were trained to believe that if you could just be good enough, patient enough, understanding enough, you could melt the ice in any man's heart. But here's what no one told you. The ice was never meant to be melted. It was meant to be recognized. It was meant to be seen for what it truly is, not a challenge to overcome, but a warning to heed. The man who keeps you waiting isn't playing hard to get. He's showing you exactly who he is. The man who gives you just enough attention to keep you hooked isn't being strategic about love. He's being honest about his limitations. The man who makes you feel like you have to earn his affection isn't testing your worth. He's showing you his. But you can't see this yet, because you're looking at him through the lens of that little girl who learned that love is something you chase, not something that comes to you. You're looking at him through the eyes of someone who was taught that the person who makes you work the hardest for their love is the one who's worth the most. This is the contract you signed in blood and tears when you were too young to read the fine print. This is the deal you made with the universe when you were a child who just wanted to be seen, to be chosen, to be enough. You promised that you would chase love into every dark corner, that you would make yourself small enough to fit into spaces that were never meant for you, that you would translate indifference into mystery and neglect into a puzzle to solve. And now, decades later, you're still honoring that contract. You're still playing by rules that were written by a child who didn't know that love isn't supposed to hurt. You're still trying to win a game that was rigged from the start. Every time you choose someone who makes you feel like you're not enough, you're keeping that contract alive. Every time you fall for someone who treats your heart like an option rather than a priority, you're signing it again. Every time you find yourself explaining to your friends why he's worth it, despite all evidence to the contrary, you're ratifying the terms of your own emotional imprisonment. The man who hurts you isn't your soulmate. He's your symptom.
He's the walking, talking manifestation of every unhealed wound you carry from childhood. He's the mirror that reflects back your deepest fears about your own worth. He's the echo of every voice that ever told you that you had to earn the right to be loved. The familiar pain they trigger, the ancient wounds they touch, the childhood roles they allow us to play again. When you think you're falling in love with him, you're actually falling in love with the opportunity to finally get it right. You're falling in love with the possibility that this time, if you just try hard enough, you can make someone incapable of love finally choose you. You're falling in love with the fantasy that your love is so powerful, so pure, so perfect, that it can heal anyone, change anyone, save anyone. But here's the truth that will set you free. You're not falling for him. You're falling for the wound he touches. You're not in love with who he is. You're in love with who you think you can make him become. You're not choosing him. You're choosing the familiar pain of trying to earn love from someone who doesn't know how to give it. The man who keeps you waiting isn't mysterious. He's emotionally unavailable. The man who makes you question your worth isn't complex. He's showing you his limitations. The man who makes you feel like you have to prove yourself isn't testing your love. He's showing you his capacity to receive it. And until you understand this, until you see this pattern for what it truly is, you'll keep signing the same contract over and over again. You'll keep choosing the same type of man in different packaging. You'll keep believing that this time will be different, that this one will be the one who finally sees your worth, who finally chooses you, who finally makes all that trying worth it. But the truth is, the one you're really searching for, the one who will finally see your worth and choose you completely, the one who will love you the way you've always dreamed of being loved, that person is not him. That person is you. There's a reason why his silence feels more familiar than another man's words of love. There's a reason why his coldness feels safer than another man's warmth. There's a reason why the man who hurts you feels like home, while the man who would heal you feels like a stranger. The pain you recognize feels safer than the love you never had. Let me show you how this works. Let me show you the invisible architecture of your heart, the blueprint that was drawn in childhood and has been governing your choices ever since. When you were small, your nervous system learned to associate love with uncertainty. It learned that the people who mattered most were the ones who were sometimes there,
Sometimes not. It learned that affection was something that came in waves, present one moment, absent the next. Your little heart adapted to this rhythm like a plant adapts to drought, learning to survive on drops of water while dreaming of rain. This is what psychologists call trauma bonding, but I want you to understand it the way Carl Jung would, not as pathology, but as the psyche's attempt to heal itself through repetition. Your unconscious mind keeps choosing the same wound because it believes that if it can finally heal this one wound, it can heal them all. You keep choosing men who make you feel like that little girl again, because your unconscious believes that if you can finally win over this emotionally unavailable man, you can go back in time and win over the first one who couldn't see you. If you can finally make this cold man warm, you can undo the chill that settled into your bones all those years ago. But here's what your unconscious doesn't understand. You can't heal the past by repeating it. You can't fix what broke you by breaking yourself again. The man who hurts you activates what Jung called the father complex, the unconscious pattern of behavior that stems from your relationship with your first male figure. If your father was emotionally absent, you learned that male love is something you have to chase. If your father was critical, you learned that male approval is something you have to earn. If your father was unpredictable, you learned that male attention is something you have to carefully manage. And now, when you meet a man who embodies these same qualities, your unconscious recognizes him immediately, not as a threat to avoid, but as an opportunity to finally get it right. This is why the man who hurts you doesn't feel dangerous. He feels like destiny. You've become what Jung would call the wounded healer, someone who was broken by love and now believes her purpose is to heal others through love.
You see his emotional unavailability and think, I can fix this. You see his fear of commitment and think, I can heal this. You see his pattern of hurting women and think, I can change this. But here's what you don't see. You're not trying to heal him. You're trying to heal yourself. You're trying to prove that you're lovable enough to crack any heart, worthy enough to change any man, special enough to be the exception to any rule. Where others see problems, possibility, where others see patterns, she looks at a man who has hurt every woman he's ever been with and thinks, but he won't hurt me. She looks at a man who has never committed to anyone and thinks, but he'll commit to me. This is not optimism. This is not faith. This is the wounded child in you still trying to earn love from the parent who couldn't give it. You drink from an empty cup because it looks like the one you knew as a child. You mistake familiar pain for profound connection. You confuse the activation of old wounds with the recognition of true love. You think the man who makes you feel like that desperate little girl again is your soulmate, when really he's just the latest actor playing the same role in the same play you've been starring in since childhood. Every time you choose someone who makes you feel anxious, you're choosing the feeling you associate with love. Every time you choose someone who makes you feel like you're not enough, you're choosing the dynamic you think love requires. Every time you choose someone who makes you try harder, you're choosing the only version of love you learned how to speak. The man who responds to your texts immediately doesn't feel like love because immediate response wasn't part of your original love language. The man who shows up consistently doesn't feel like love because consistency wasn't part of your original love template. The man who sees your worth without you having to prove it doesn't feel like love because unconditional acceptance wasn't part of your original love story. You've been programmed to believe that love is something you have to earn, that passion is something you have to chase, that commitment is something you have to convince someone to give you. You've been programmed to believe that the right man will make you feel like you're not enough until you prove that you are. But here's the truth that will shatter this programming. The man who is right for you will never make you feel like you're not enough. The man who is meant to love you will never make you chase him. The man who is your match will never make you prove your worth. You keep choosing men who activate your insecurities because your unconscious believes that working through these insecurities with them will finally heal you. You keep choosing men who trigger your abandonment fears because your unconscious believes that if you can get them to stay, you can finally feel safe. You keep
choosing men who make you feel small because your unconscious believes that if you can get them to see your worth, you can finally feel worthy. This is the unconscious contract you've been operating under. If I can just love this unlovable man into loving me back, I will finally be lovable. If I can just heal this broken man, I will finally be healed. If I can just get this unavailable man to choose me, I will finally be chosen. But healing doesn't work this way. Love doesn't work this way. Your worth doesn't work this way. Fixing him is your unconscious attempt to fix what broke you. Healing him is your unconscious attempt to heal your own wounds. Changing him is your unconscious attempt to go back in time and change the first man who couldn't love you the way you needed to be loved. But you can't heal your father wounds by dating men who embody them. You can't resolve your abandonment issues by choosing men who abandon you. You can't fix your worth by convincing worthless men that you're worthy. The man who hurts you feels like home because your home was a place where love was conditional, where affection was earned, where worth was questioned. The man who hurts you feels familiar because he speaks the same language of lack that you learned as a child. The man who hurts you feels right because he fits into the role that was carved out in your psyche by the first man who couldn't see you. But feeling familiar doesn't mean feeling good. Feeling like home doesn't mean feeling safe.
Feeling right doesn't mean being right. You've been mistaking the activation of trauma for the recognition of love. You've been mistaking the repetition of patterns for the fulfillment of destiny. You've been mistaking the opening of old wounds for the healing of new ones. The man who hurts you isn't your teacher. He's your trigger. He isn't your healer. He's your mirror. He isn't your salvation. He's your symptom. And until you understand this, until you see that the familiarity of pain is not the same as the recognition of love, you'll keep choosing the wound over the healing, the pattern over the possibility, the past over the present. The love you're searching for, the love you're trying to earn, the love you're trying to create, it's not something he can give you. It's something you have to give yourself. There comes a moment in every woman's journey when she must choose between the familiar pain of repeating the past and the unfamiliar freedom of creating
something new. There comes a moment when she must decide whether she will continue to honor the contract she signed in childhood or finally tear it up and write a new agreement with love. That moment is now. You've spent years believing that love is something you have to earn, that passion is something you have to chase, that commitment is something you have to convince someone to give you. You've spent years believing that the right man will make you feel like you're not enough until you prove that you are. You've spent years believing that your worth is determined by your ability to change the unchangeable, heal the unhealable, love the unlovable. But what if I told you that everything you've been taught about love is backwards? What if I told you that the love you're searching for isn't something you find in another person, but something you remember in yourself? Carl Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are, not who you think you need to be to earn love. Individuating is not about finding yourself in another person, it's about finding yourself in yourself. It's about returning to the wholeness you had before the world taught you that you were broken. Individuation is returning to yourself, not running after someone who looks like your loss. The woman you were before you learned that love was conditional, she's still there. The woman you were before you learned that worth was something you had to prove, she's still there. The woman you were before you learned that silence was a language you had to speak fluently, she's still there waiting for you to remember her. But first, you must do something that will require more courage than you've ever summoned before. You must burn the contract. You must take that invisible agreement you signed in childhood, the one that says you will chase love into every dark corner, make yourself small enough to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Translate indifference into mystery and neglect into a puzzle to solve, and you must set it on fire. Picture yourself standing in front of a mirror, holding this contract made of smoke and tears. See yourself reading the terms one last time. I promise to love men who can't love me back. I promise to see potential where others see problems. I promise to make excuses for those who should be making efforts. I promise to believe that my love is so powerful, it can change anyone, heal anyone, save anyone. Now watch as you hold
a flame to these words. Watch as they curl and burn and disappear into ash. Watch as the smoke rises and dissipates, taking with it every lie you've ever believed about what love is supposed to feel like. You are not responsible for healing grown men who refuse to heal themselves. You are not responsible for loving men into loving you back. You are not responsible for proving your worth to people who are determined not to see it. You are responsible for one thing only: remembering who you were before the world convinced you that you were not enough. The woman you're becoming doesn't wait for love. She is love. She doesn't chase worth. She knows her worth. She doesn't beg for attention. She commands respect. She doesn't make excuses for those who should be making efforts. She makes space for those who are already making them. This woman, the one you're becoming, she doesn't fall from men who hurt her because she doesn't hurt herself. She doesn't attract emotional unavailability because she is emotionally available to herself. She doesn't choose men who make her feel small because she has remembered how to feel big. But becoming this woman requires you to do something that will feel like death before it feels like rebirth. You must let go of the version of yourself that believes love is supposed to hurt. You must let go of the version of yourself that thinks passion requires pain. You must let go of the version of yourself that believes you have to earn what should be freely given. You must take off the ring you've been wearing on your finger, the invisible ring that represents your marriage to suffering, your commitment to chaos, your vow to love men who cannot love you back. You must remove this ring and throw it into the fire with the contract, watching as it melts and reforms into something new, a crown that you place on your own head. You are not the woman who waits for love. You are the woman who is love. You are not the woman who chases worth. You are the woman who knows her worth. You are not the woman who begs for crumbs. You are the woman who bakes her own bread. The man who hurts you doesn't love you. He only reflects the part of you that doesn't love yourself. The man who makes you feel small doesn't see your worth. He only mirrors the part of you that doesn't see your own worth. The man who makes you chase him doesn't value you. He only activates the part of you that doesn't value yourself. But here's what happens when you start to love
yourself. You stop attracting men who don't. Here's what happens when you start to see your worth. You stop choosing men who are blind to it. Here's what happens when you start to value yourself. You stop settling for men who don't. This is not about becoming hard. This is not about closing your heart. This is not about giving up on love. This is about raising your standards so high that only real love can reach them. This is about living yourself so completely that you can't imagine accepting anything less from another person. The woman you're becoming, she still believes in love, but she believes in the kind of love that adds to her life, not the kind that subtracts from it. She believes in the kind of love that feels like coming home to herself, not the kind that feels like losing herself. She believes in the kind of love that makes her feel more like who she is, not less. When you meet a man who is truly capable of love, you'll know, because he won't make you feel like you're not enough. He won't make you guess where you stand. He won't make you compete for his attention. He won't make you prove your worth. He'll see it, recognize it, and honor it from the very beginning. When you meet a man who is truly available, you'll know, because he won't make you chase him. He won't play games with your heart. He won't keep you waiting for scraps of affection. He'll meet you where you are, and he'll stay there, consistently, reliably, joyfully. When you meet a man who is truly ready for love, you'll know, because he won't make you feel like you have to heal him, fix him, or save him. He'll show up already whole, already healed, already ready to love you the way you deserve to be loved. But here's the secret. You won't meet this man until you become this woman. You won't attract healthy love until you become healthy love. You won't choose someone who sees your worth until you see your own worth. The journey from the woman who accepts crumbs to the woman who demands the whole loaf is not an easy one. It requires you to disappoint some people who have grown comfortable with your willingness to accept less than you deserve. It requires you to walk away from situations that feel familiar but don't feel good. It requires you to choose the unknown possibility of real love over the known certainty of familiar pain. But on the other side of this journey is a version of yourself that you've forgotten exists. On the other side of this journey is a woman who doesn't need
anyone to complete her because she is already complete. On the other side of this journey is a woman who doesn't need anyone to validate her because she validates herself. On the other side of this journey is a woman who doesn't need anyone to love her into existence because she exists fully and completely in her own love. This woman, the one you're becoming, she doesn't fall for men who hurt her because she doesn't hurt herself. She doesn't attract chaos because she is peace. She doesn't choose drama because she is calm. She doesn't accept less because she knows she deserves more. Stop falling. Rise. Rise into the woman you were before the world told you that you were not enough. Rise into the woman you are when no one is watching, when no one is judging, when no one is keeping score. Rise into the woman you are in your dreams, in your prayers, in your deepest knowing of who you really are. The love you've been searching for in all the wrong places, the love you've been trying to earn from all the wrong people, the love you've been trying to create in all the wrong ways, it's been there all along, waiting for you to turn around and see it. It's the love you have for yourself when you're brave enough to be yourself. It's the love you feel when you look in the mirror and see not what's wrong with you, but what's right with you. It's the love you experience when you realize that you are not a problem to be solved, but a person to be celebrated. This is the love that will attract real love. This is the love that will recognize real love. This is the love that will accept nothing less than real love. The one who hurts you doesn't love you. He only reflects the part of you that doesn't love yourself. But the one who will truly love you, the one who will see your worth and honor it, the one who will meet you where you are and stay there, the one who will add to your life instead of subtracting from it, he's waiting for you to become the woman who loves herself enough to accept nothing less than real love. You've loved someone who hurt you, but now love someone who heals you, yourself. The pattern ends with you. The cycle breaks with you. The contract is burned by you. The crown is claimed by you. You are not the woman who waits for love. You are the woman who is love. You are not the woman who chases worth. You are the woman who knows her worth. You are not the woman who accepts crumbs. You are the woman who demands the whole loaf. And when you
Remember this, when you finally become this, when you finally choose this, the right man won't have to be convinced to love you. He'll consider himself lucky to be loved by you. The journey home to yourself starts now. The journey to real love starts now. The journey to the woman you were always meant to be starts now. If this message spoke to you, if you recognized your own story in these words, if you're ready to break the pattern that has governed your love life, then it's time to make a choice. It's time to choose you. It's time to choose healing over wounding, possibility over pattern, present over past. You've loved someone who hurt you, but now love someone who heals you, yourself. If this resonated with you, comment, "I break the pattern." Share this with a woman who thinks pain is destiny.